We'll turn to the state of North Carolina. Distinguished gentleman, Mr. Hudson. Appreciate you being here. Recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and Chairman McKee and Ranking Member Smith for the opportunity to share with you some of the national security priorities that I hold for the upcoming year on behalf of the 8th District of North Carolina. As I travel around my communities in my district in North Carolina, people have consistently told me that restoring fiscal responsibility is their #1 priority. And they sent me to Washington to force the government to live within its means. Accordingly, I'm committed to cutting spending, reducing the size of government, promoting economic growth, and balancing our budget. That means we have to focus on priorities like a strong national defense. Today, I would like to discuss a number of issues, namely the challenges that we face along with our allies and partners, the commitments we have made to our men and women in uniform, and the importance of ensuring accountability and transparency when trying to maintain a strong national defense in a very tough budget environment. While we've seen the gradual reduction of core al-Qaeda influence, it's important to remember that we continue to be engaged in a global conflict against increasingly factionalized groups that seek to do us harm, along with the states that support them. A failure to exercise U.S. diplomatic and military leadership means nuclear states like Iran and North Korea will be able to bully the international community both through direct means and through their proxies. North Carolina is fortunate to be home to over 700,000 proud veterans, and I'm fortunate to represent a district that has a strong military presence given its proximity to Fort Bragg. I just returned from a productive visit to Camp McCall, an extension of Fort Bragg, where some of America's finest trained to become part of the Special Forces, and I'm pleased to report on their fine work. The men and women at Fort Bragg have matchless capabilities and a unique mission. I look forward to continuing to working with the base to ensure their priorities are met when it comes to equipment, facilities, and training. As the United States increases its special operations and airborne operation presence, it's critically important that we support in-depth training and techniques, an area where Fort Bragg continues to excel. I look forward to working with you and this committee to provide the necessary resources to ensure the utmost success for our dedicated men and women in uniform there. While I recognize this committee does not intend to reauthorize or make changes to the authorization of military force this year, I would still like to take a moment to touch on the issue given its continued importance in regards to civil liberties and our ability to effectively prosecute terrorists. I would like this committee to note that I will not support trading our guaranteed civil liberties for the promise of security. With that said, I also refuse to stand by and allow terrorists to be treated as common criminals. The administration has taken this stance when it comes to pursuing those involved in the deadly September 11th attack on the U.S. Embassy in Benghazi, and we've all seen the failure and results this approach has led to. Waiving subpoenas in the face of radical militants is simply not the way to protect America's interests. This approach is also apparent in the administration's attempt to close the prison in Guantanamo Bay and transfer over 150 terrorists to U.S. soil or return them home to their home nations. I cannot and will not support policies like this that threaten Americans around the world. The United States is a nation built on the premise of liberty and constitutional rights. We preserve a unique separation of powers so that we can ensure not one branch has too much power. The programs in the NDAA, like any other, fall within that system, and it's our duty as elected representatives to ensure it does not violate our privacy or civil liberties. Thanks to the committee for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you for your commitment to our nation's warfighters and their families. Thank you. I yield back.